Hey, everybody. Welcome to the second edition of Shop Talk. I'm your host, Chief Jeff Walter. And with my co-host here, Sergeant Kevin Kwan, we're very excited to be back with you. This is our second episode, and we got a lot of really good feedback on our first episode with Councilwoman Tammy Caputi. We're going to, same format, we're going to hit the format every time, which is we're going to answer some of your questions. We got a lot of great questions again, so thank you, everybody who sent questions in. We're excited to talk about those and some meaty questions. And then in the second part of the show, John Rosenberg is our guest with LevRose Commercial Realty, big partner for us in the downtown and in Old Town Scottsdale. So really excited to have him here with us today as well. And without further ado, Kevin, let's just jump right into the questions.
Perfect. I appreciate it. And Chief, before we get started, I want to remind everyone listening that they can submit questions to any one of our social media platforms in the comment section of the podcast postings or directly through a DM. All right, Chief, here we go. Are you ready?
I'm ready when you are.
All right. On July 4th, there was a post on social media about not firing guns in the air. Now, kind of logically, we can say that that's probably not a good idea, but can you explain Shannon's Law and why this is a terrible thing to do?
Yes, actually it is. And, I both kind of jokingly will blame TV and movies for a lot of this. You see a lot of guns being shot in the air. If you go back to a lot of movies and TV in the past 50 years, you see that happen a lot, and I think sometimes our behavior in real life emulates those things. And so Shannon's Law really was about Shannon Smith, I believe her name was, late 90s, 1999, who tragically was killed by a stray bullet that had been fired into the air. And her parents were very much advocates going before the state legislature and really pushing a bill that ultimately got passed. And it's a simple one, Kevin. It's you can't fire your guns into the air. And so when you fire a gun into the air, that's a violation of Shannon's Law, and you can be arrested for that. So there is, I hate to be so obvious, but the old adage of what goes up must come down. And so when you fire a bullet into the air, it's a high velocity. It's going to go up very high, and then gravity is going to take hold of it, and it's going to fall right back down to earth with incredible velocity, enough certainly to penetrate your body, penetrate homes and walls and vehicles. And so it's just not smart to fire a gun into the air. And only is it not smart, it's not legal. So it's illegal to do so for very obvious danger reasons.
And you make a good point. Most of the movies that the actors are firing blanks. I mean, as they're pointing stuff in the air, it's typically blanks just to give that effect. But in reality, it's extremely dangerous, and that's why there's a law specific to it.
Absolutely. We talk about in law enforcement, before you fire your weapon, even on the range, you better know what is around it, what's behind it. You have to know your backstop, and when you fire a round into the air, you've got no idea how far that bullet is going to travel. In some cases, it can travel a mile or more.
All right, so this kind of relates to firing guns with the post. Citizen wrote in, a friend recently found an old pistol while they were cleaning out their mother's home. What's the best way that they can dispose of it?
Oy, that's a loaded question, pun intended.
Do I need to get the coming on here? Yeah.
Actually, we get this question a lot. We have because there are a number of elderly citizens in Scottsdale who will pass, and then their children or grandchildren will go through their belongings and find old firearms that they don't want to keep or pass down or sell. Which is some of the things that I talk about. If this family is really interested in actually disposing of the handgun or rifle, we'll take it here at the police department. We can impound that. We can just have them call the non-emergency number at 312-5000, and we can impound that weapon for destruction if that's what they want. If they want that weapon destroyed, then we'll take that in here. It's pretty simple, honestly, to do that. People often ask questions in addition to that about ammunition and what can I do with unspent ammunition. We will also take that in and find proper disposal for that. But let us know what your intentions are, why you want to do that, or come down to one of our police stations, any one of the 4 stations, and leave the gun in the car. Make sure you leave the gun in the car, ammunition in the car, come in the front door and tell the station officer there that you have a gun that you want impounded for destruction, and we will take that, fill out the appropriate paperwork, and get that handled.
Perfect. So moving on to kind of technology question that we have here. In a time of instant communication and news, what are you doing to navigate complex issues and to help notify citizens that they're getting the most accurate and current information?
Yes, this is it's like you almost planted this citizen, Kevin, didn't you? Because this is a question. This is one of the things that we're doing. But as you well know, since I took over and I became the chief in December of 2020, this has been one of our biggest pushes. This really, we've taken what's used to be called the public information officer, what people are used to seeing as the PIO, and we've changed that to a community engagement section. We've now made it more robust. We have more personnel in there, and we have a new mission, i.e., we have a new sergeant in there as well, and my wonderful co-host here. And we kind of have a direction that we're going in, kind of a master template, so to speak, of how we're going to communicate both internally and externally to the organization. And I talk about this a lot at community functions about how we're making it much more robust internal to the organization. In fact, we were joking with John, who's going to come on here in a minute, about the 3 different shows that we have internal to the organization, with Chief Talk every other month, with Ask the Chief in between, months in between, with Shop Talk here. And then this is the answer to the question, which is a far more robust presence on social media,
Right.
via Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Nextdoor, just more robust. In fact, you're not going to really see a day that the Scottsdale Police Department is not posting on our social media outlets, and that has already paid, I think, big dividends for us organizationally. We've gotten more followers. We're very active and interactive now. We post something every day, and so when and in fact, I think we were talking about it before we came on today, which was this past week with all of the rain that we got here in the Valley. You were posting, you were live streaming, you were doing live on camera interviews with some of our news stations. That's today. That's how we communicate. It's different than when John comes on. John and I have lunch, pretty much every month, and we're about the same age. We have the conversation of how different the world is from how we grew up, and print newspaper and the news, local news and national news was on for 30 minutes. A couple times a day, and that was it. There was no 24-hour news cycle. There was no social media, and yeah, that shows age, but I think we've gotten very good in the Scottsdale Police Department at leveraging that technology. Some don't like it. There are people who look, I'm never going to get on social media. I can be one of those people, but in a police department, we must leverage social media platforms to get our message out. We have to be part of the narrative. And law enforcement historically has not been great at participating in the narrative, and we need to participate in that narrative. And how do you participate in that narrative? It's on social media today. And so I think we've gotten very good. We're going to continue to get better. We'll talk about this in some episodes coming up, but we're going to get much better in terms of creating critical incident briefing videos that we're going to wind up putting out to our population, our populace, and the citizens and visitors that come here. There's a lot of really exciting things I think that we're doing to make sure that we have very robust communications, so that if you're following Scottsdale PD on any of those platforms, you're going to get instant notifications of, hey, there's a collision here, and I saw you do a live stream.
That was pretty fun.
Yeah, it was awesome. You did great. It's one of those things. Here's a collision, a rollover, blocking this intersection. Here's what's going on in the Indian Bend Wash and the amount of flooding that's going on here. This intersection's closed. This police incident is here. We're really, really embracing social media and those social media platforms. And that's how we're getting that information out.
And we want to make sure that our listeners know that we will give you everything that we can, as long as it's not compromising an investigation. There are a lot of things that come up that we can't tell the public because we haven't made an arrest or we haven't done something yet related to our investigation. So there is some stuff that we will keep in-house, but as soon as we can, we will put it out.
Absolutely. I think that's a great point. One of the internal communications that I put out early in the organization in one of my first videos was that with all this increased communications, it's still important that people understand, and my employees understand, that still sometimes the answer is no. And that will be the same in how we communicate to the public. If we have a very sensitive investigation going on, a particular, particularly sensitive aggravated assault, a homicide, sexual assault, or very high profile suspects or victims, that's stuff we're going to keep pretty close to the vest until that investigation has reached a point that we can put that information out. So great point, Kevin.
So this is a great transition into kind of what we've been experiencing in the last few months in downtown Scottsdale, specifically in the nighttime hours, with a lot of violence that's occurred. What are you doing to counteract the amount of increased major violence that's been happening?
So let's talk about that. It's been my experience. I started with the Scottsdale Police Department 27 years ago this month. And throughout my career, I'll be talking to people who are not familiar with the police department or what goes on in Scottsdale. I'll be talking about a particular violent offense, shooting, something that went on in the entertainment district. And I usually get the same question. And what do you think that is?
Where?
In Scottsdale. And it always blows my mind because I think that Scottsdale is a wonderful, wonderful city. If you think about how vibrant it is and how vibrant the downtown is on a Friday, a Saturday, now Sunday night, sometimes Thursday. We have major events here, 11 plus million visitors every year that come here. We have great citizens, great residents, incredible businesses. And we'll talk to John about that here momentarily. But at 265,000 residents and 11 million visitors and 185 square miles and the vibrancy of a city, we have our share of violence and of crime and of property crimes and domestic violence. And we can talk ad nauseum how between COVID and civil unrest, we've seen those numbers go up considerably. I think I saw recently a discussion in one of our print medias about the numbers of crimes that have gone up, even valley-wide. And you look at nationally the same type of thing.
Yeah.
If we look at our domestic violence, that's up 30+%, or our Part 1 crimes, those are reported to the FBI. Those are up in the 28-ish%. I saw our aggravated assaults had been up 68%. And so I've gotten a lot of questions lately about violence related to our entertainment establishments and our clubs in the downtown. When I pull that data, and I usually pull that data through Commander Chris Coffey, who's the downtown commander, although he'll be transitioning soon. That'll be up for an upcoming episode.
To a different role.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm not getting rid of him. To a different role. But when I pulled these numbers, and this is now 2 weeks ago, I had 62 gun-related calls for service in the downtown area we call the entertainment district area. And that's just for our listeners, that is from Miller Road to 68th Street and Camelback roughly to Osborne. There's a little jut out that goes to Thomas. But in that small area, January 1st until about 2 weeks ago, I had 62 gun-related calls for service, shots fired, aggravated assault, actual shootings, somebody brandishing a firearm. And so, we've had a fair amount of violence. Ultimately, that culminated most recently on July the 10th in a shootout between some individuals out close to one of our nightclubs in Old Town, and somewhere around 45 plus rounds were fired during that exchange. One subject was hit, although did not sustain a life-threatening injury. But let's be honest, 45 plus rounds, including some rifle rounds and some pistol rounds in the downtown, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And I've had conversations with folks that, when I was a young patrol officer in the middle 90s, I responded to a triple homicide shooting outside of the old Works nightclub. And that takes a lot of our listeners back a long time ago. But that's something that we've been dealing with off and on for the better part of 27 years. So let's call it 30 years. So the question, I get very circuitous way to come back to that question, is what are we doing about it? There's a lot of things that we do. We work with partners in the Arizona Department of Liquor License and Control related to liquor license and liquor license enforcement if there are violent acts at a club. Scottsdale in 2013 passed the Public Safety Plan Ordinance that is really about training security staff, the number of security staff per patrons, violent incidents that occur, and expectations of bar and security staff in our city and in our downtown, our entertainment district. And so we work that together very collaboratively. We also work very collaboratively with the owners and the tenants of our various buildings and the bar owners themselves to make sure that they have a safe environment. And then obviously there's enforcement. And so we maintain a very robust presence in the entertainment district. But when we reach these levels of violence that we have recently and had in the past, we then create gun suppression and criminal suppression details where we're looking for a legal gun. We had one 2 weeks ago that was very successful. In fact, a lot of my units in the Scottsdale Police Department that we partnered with one squad of the Department of Public Safety's, their gang task force. And we made 201 contacts. During that 201 contacts over the weekend, we made 56 arrests. 13 of those were felony arrests. And we took 13 guns off the street that were either in the hands of prohibited possessors or stolen, what have you. And so we're not, just so everybody knows who's listening, we're just not confiscating legal guns that are in the possession of our average everyday citizens. These were 13 guns that were in the hands of people who should not have guns. And so we made 35 different reports or cases on those people that we contacted. So we're seeing a pretty significant criminal element come into the downtown. I will tell you, anybody who will listen, the city of Scottsdale, our arms are wide open. Our city's open. We want you to come here.
That's right.
Want you to enjoy the downtown. I personally love the vibrancy and the excitement of the downtown. We're going to talk to John Rosenberg in just a few minutes because he owns a lot of buildings in the downtown. And so we love that vibrancy. We welcome all. We have a lot of different genres of clubs in the city. And so we bring an incredibly diverse and great cross-section of people into Scottsdale who have a wonderful time. And we want that. We embrace that. You talk about in the previous question, how do we get information out? I think you and I are going to do some public service announcements next month.
Coming out next month. Yeah.
That are about safety in the preserve, safety in the downtown, being safe with your valuables inside of cars. Correct. And so this is the same thing. We want you to come here. The council wants you to come here. In fact, just approved a fantastic anti-discrimination ordinance, which is fantastic. I mean, it really, really bodes well for Scottsdale and the Valley. We want you to come here, but we want you to leave your guns at home. We want you to have a great time. We want you to drink responsibly because bad things happen when you don't drink responsibly. Obviously, we'd like you to leave your illicit or illegal drugs at home. Just come here and have a great time. But those are some of the things that we're doing. We're going to continue with the gun suppression details and the criminal suppression details, an increased presence in the downtown, more collaborative conversation with our bar owners, with the Department of Liquor License and Control being involved, and greater implementation of the public safety plan.
And one of our biggest assets is our citizens when they're seeing something that just doesn't look right, especially when you're out in the downtown. Hey, there's suspicious activity. Let us know that.
Right.
Please call us.
Right.
Let us know that. We have people downtown that are looking for that. So
absolutely. Kevin, I can't tell you how many times I've heard over 27 years when people say, well, I didn't want to bother you. No, that's what we're here for.
Right.
Please bother us. We want to know. The more information that we have, the better it is for the quality of entertainment, the better it is for the safety in the downtown, and the better overall experience you're going to have by feeling safe.
All right, Chief. Well, that wraps up our community questions for this month. We want to let the listeners know if you want to ask the Chief something, nothing's really off the table with our Chief, and you got to really understand that. So if you have any concerns about what's going on in the city of Scottsdale, please let us know. Again, drop us a DM or hit up us our comments on our post.
All right, now that we're done with those questions, we're onto the guest part of the show. I'll go back. You know what? Thanks everybody for some really great questions. Again, keep those coming. They're really fantastic, and I think provide some good info and good talking points. So let's get into it. But before John Rosenberg comes on the show, here's a little bit about him. John is originally from New York, but grew up in Scottsdale and graduated from the University of Arizona. I myself am a Northern Arizona University graduate, but that's okay. He co-founded LevRose Commercial Real Estate in 1992 and Mode Real Estate Management Services in 2008. Both companies are based in Scottsdale, and LevRose was recently named the #1 commercial brokerage firm by Ranking Arizona Magazine. He has 2 daughters with wife Debbie, who are both born and raised in Scottsdale. John, I'm excited to be here. I think you and I have talked about this. John, I think I mentioned earlier in the show that John and I we're friends. We have lunch once a month, Blind Pig, South Scottsdale. So it's great to have you on here. So, John,
thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Appreciate
absolutely. So we're going to throw a couple questions your way. And that's just to kind of get to know you better and our listeners. And we always wind up connecting it with the police department. So what brought you to do business in Scottsdale, and how many years have you been off?
A long time, but I'll go back to what brought me. You mentioned I'm from New York, originally moved here. My family moved here when I was 11, but I went to really sixth grade on, went to school, high school here, college down at University of Arizona. It's okay that you went to NAU. That's like Switzerland between U of A and NAU, but at ASU, I mean. So, but I went to University of Arizona. I had a finance degree. Found out actually when I was down there that finance was so close to real estate in the degree as a major that I was able to double major in real estate. So I'm kind of going a long way to get there. But so while I was down there, I did some internships at some commercial real estate companies and ultimately got my real estate license while I was still in college. Came back. Now as a finance major, I interviewed for some positions. I actually had a job in California. I was supposed to move to California to work for this finance company. Came here. That job wasn't going to start until like September of that year. So I had a few months to kill. I don't like grass grow under my feet. So I was looking for something to do. I answered an ad for the company that commercial real estate company that needed somebody with a real estate license, and it was an entry-level position. And lo and behold, that was me. So I went in, got that job, figured I'd try it for a few months, and then moved to California and get my finance job. A few months later, I decided I kind of like this. So I stuck with it for a few years, and then in '92, as you alluded to in the intro, started my own company at the ripe old age of 25. And met a business partner, Bob Levine, who I'd met a couple of years earlier. And we decided to, we got real original. We went to lunch one day and said, Levine and Rosenberg, LevRose. And so anyway, real creative. And kind of a cool little anecdote about that is my first job that I mentioned was in an office upstairs from where my current office is today. So we now own the building, and that's where my very first job was. That's so literally, cool. I drive to the exact same building I did my very first job, almost more than 30 years ago. So,
wow, that's great.
Yeah, long time.
Yeah, that is. I won't go into ages because she gets mad whenever I do that. But yeah,
just get to the next question.
Next question. There we go. What have you enjoyed the most about working and living in Scottsdale?
I'll start with working. First of all, what's not to love about both? I mean, how lucky are we to live and work in Scottsdale? It's pretty cool. So being from, mostly from here, from a working standpoint, as I said, my very first office was in Old Town. My current office for the last 20, almost 30 years has been in Old Town. I live in North Scottsdale, so my commute is not bad. It's a great place to work. The environment is fantastic. We pull up, we get out of our car, we walk into our office. We're not dealing with mass transit or anything like that. We walk to lunch, we walk to the bank, we walk to coffee in the morning. You have a great workforce here. You have a lot of young people that want to live here, after college. And it's just a great place to be. And it's a great place to do business. And fortunately, from a business standpoint, because I've been here so long, we have a lot of relationships that go on for many, many years. And one of the cool things for us too is because we're in the commercial real estate industry, we're helping landlords find tenants, and tenants find buildings or buyers, etc. And we get to actually see those through to fruition and then become customers of those businesses or work with them or refer them. There's a coffee shop down the street from my office that we put in. Someone in my office represented on putting them in the building, a few years ago, and I think that we're their best customers. It's just a normal thing. So it's just a great collaborative way to do business when you're in the area. Living, same thing. What's not to love? I mean, I live North Scottsdale. Been here most of my life. It's just great. When I drive home at night, I drive up and I see the mountains, and I just kind of look at them. I just get a big sigh of relief that my day is winding down, and I get to look at the scenery, and if I want to go for a run or a hike or whatever, go to the gym, whatever it is, it's an easy thing to do.
Yeah, that's fantastic. How about that? You talked about running or hiking. What do you like to do when you're not working?
Really, in the summertime, I like to be in San Diego because it's too hot here.
Humid right now.
And it is humid. And I was actually there this weekend. I flew in this morning just for you.
Thank you.
But yeah, of course. I'll send you the bill. So I do like to obviously get out of here as much as I can during the summer, at least on the weekends. The rest of the time, I really enjoy, first of all, I enjoy just to chill, just to go home and relax. As you guys know, I like a good book, just to sit down and just do nothing. But I do like to hike, I go to the gym, or I work out pretty much every day, whether it's Peloton or going for a run or going to the gym. Just I'm on a lot of boards. So again, I don't sit still very long. I'm pretty impatient when it comes to that. So while I like to chill, I don't give myself probably enough time to do that, but plenty to keep me busy.
That's great. So you've been here a while now, and so the Scottsdale Police Department has kind of evolved over the years as well. What has been your experiences with the Scottsdale Police Department, and really, I mean, working in the daytime, and you've been out there during the nighttime as well. What are the different interactions that you see from a business owner standpoint?
Yeah. Well, so for background, we are, as I mentioned earlier, we represent a lot of building owners, and we also are building owners. We own several buildings in Scottsdale, a lot of them in Old Town, some other parts of Scottsdale. We work with tenants, buyers, et cetera, and we also have a property management company that manages a lot of these buildings. So we're dealing with a lot of businesses and a lot of buildings and a lot of issues that come with that. But the relationship with the police has been outstanding. That's how I know Chief Walter originally, because he was the downtown commander. That's how I know.
Long time ago.
Long time ago. Well, yeah, we already dated ourselves.
Seems like a long time ago.
But that's how I've gotten to know a lot of the officers, Assistant Chief LeDuc, Commander Coffey, a lot of the officers who were downtown commanders, and every one of them's been incredible, engaging and responsive, and I could reach out to them anytime and they'll respond. It's just been a really good relationship over the years that we've been really fortunate to have and continue.
How about that when Kevin mentioned that kind of that interaction at night, that kind of that difference? Because I know, in fact, it was recently within the last couple of months, you actually went on a ride along with Commander Coffey in the evening hours. And I get a lot of consternation. I know that the downtown commander does as well, a lot of consternation from what goes on during the day versus what goes on during the night, especially in what we refer to as the U, or in that area that has a very high concentration of bars and nightclubs.
Yeah, I mean, it's two. I always say that it's like there's this light switch, right? You turn off the daytime light, and then you flip it back on. You've got your nighttime world, which is, a 180. Since our offices are in Old Town, we've seen it firsthand for many years. A lot of times it's Monday morning when we come in, there's something happened. There's some kind of vandalism, usually from probably some guys, probably guys that had a few too many beers and broke things. But some issues with that. So, the daytime, our issues are more minor. They could be parking issues. They could be alleys being blocked, maybe a little bit of vandalism from the weekend. Nighttime, yeah, as you mentioned, I've driven down there many times over the years if we happen to be out in Old Town for dinner with friends or something, and I'll drive by, and every time I do it, I drive fast.
You wish you had.
I'm like, oh my God, do I stay here and
don't do that to yourself,
or do I just go home, forget everything I saw, and then come back on Monday and hope everything's okay? So I've done that many times, but and stopped doing it. But Commander Coffey asked me to go on a ride along, and yeah, that was enlightening. Do you guys earn your pay? It's a completely different world.
Yeah. It is
just something out of a movie almost.
Yeah.
But it was great to see. And it was really great to see how engaging the officers were with the people that were out there. And a lot of those people are they've had a few drinks, so they're not the easiest people to communicate with. And it was great as far as speaking to them on terms that they could understand them, de-escalating issues that could have been major issues, and just really helping them and really being kind of more of a friend and welcoming. I was really, really impressed.
You get to see things from such a different perspective as a business owner down there, and being involved in commercial real estate down in that area, to see how different the daytime is and the nighttime. And we've talked about it, and we always want to be very transparent with our audience. It's those issues that we hear pretty regularly. It's the urinating in public, or, you come into an alcove and it smells like urine, or beer bottles broken, or people who'd been drinking, from their vehicles prior to coming in. Just all manner of nighttime refuse and debris that I think that the PD and then the city have been very good about really working to clean that stuff up, so that when people come in the morning, by and large, it's relatively clean and clear. But that's typically what we hear a lot of. It's, well, this is going on at night. I don't know what it's going to look like during the daytime. So it's something I think that we've gotten used to dealing with, and you definitely have a different perspective.
Yeah, we do, and we found all those things that you're talking about, the bottles and the urine,
and some things we won't
on
mention.
Monday. Oh yeah, I won't even go there.
Yes, that's the price of the vibrancy that we have, and I think I mentioned earlier in the show. Love it, love the vibrancy, love the nightlife and the crowds that come in, because we're looking at usually in kind of that peak season, that 10 to 12 to 15,000 people on a Friday or Saturday, and now a Sunday night, and so that's a lot of folks coming in and out of the downtown, lending to that kind of very, very party atmosphere.
It is, and I just want to add one thing to that. We've had employees over the years that live in downtown, so they'll walk to the office, and they'll go out at night. And my daughter, when she graduated college, she immediately got an apartment right in Old Town, so she could walk and not have to worry about an Uber or driving or anything like that. So, it's definitely, you welcome people down there because of the all, you hear the old live, work, play, and it really is true.
Yeah, absolutely. It's awesome.
So you talked a little bit about being on a few committees and boards. You're a member of the Chiefs Community Engagement Committee. Why did you want to be a part of that, and what does the committee do?
I think I was promised some really good dinners originally, and so I actually was asked when Chief Rodbell had started the committee, and went and found out that dinners were slightly different. I guess the budget
they were not as advertised.
Yeah, not as advertised. So, but I stuck with it. So why I wanted to be on it, and really it's transformed a little bit since Chief Walter started these up again, and really just as a stakeholder in the area, a way to see all the diversity of the people that are in this group, this engagement committee, and just not only the individuals that are there from different walks of life, business owners, etc., but it really was good to learn how, with everything that you'd mentioned that's been going on during COVID and pre-COVID, how the police and Scottsdale PD in particular is working hard to make sure that everybody's aware of what's going on. I mean, when you see some of these things on the news, you think, well, there's a complete disconnect between some of the citizens and the police, and that may be part of the problem in some cases. And I feel like this is the opposite. This is creating a connection that that you hope that each person tells 10 others, etc., and creates the vibrancy that you really are looking for. That's really, I think, what it does. I mean, and you may have a different answer to what it does.
I think that's spot on. The whole idea, and we came up with it years ago, and then Chief Rodbell implemented it, and now becoming the chief in as of last December. I wanted to make sure that I took that in the same yet a little slightly different direction, and the makeup of my community engagement group is exceptionally diverse from all around the city of Scottsdale and some from around the valley, to really talk about that police community relationship, partnership, being very collaborative, showing I like to say that we talk about, in the first 5 minutes of our quarterly meeting, we talk about what's going on in the national narrative, but here's what we're doing in Scottsdale. And that's where a lot of the things that we've been going over the last several months is what we're doing in Scottsdale that's different than in the national narrative. And I just, thank you for being such an integral part of that committee. That group is about 30-ish people, roughly, again, very diverse from all around the Scottsdale and Valley community. And it's really about law enforcement. It's really about what Scottsdale PD does to participate in the narrative. So thank you.
So we can kind of transition with a little bit of that. Being a business owner here, what advice would you give someone that kind of wants to either bring their business to Scottsdale? What can they expect from the Scottsdale PD? What are your interactions of that as they're starting their own businesses here?
From a business standpoint, I would probably relay that it's very business friendly. The environment's very business friendly. The police department is very friendly are willing to answer, come in, meet with anybody. We've had officers come in and meet with our property management company just to talk about ideas and things like that, how to protect properties and deal with certain issues. So they're going to be there, for you. They have for us at any given time. I could pick up the phone and call or text or whatever it is and do that. What you won't get is you won't get out of a speeding ticket. I thought that was another thing I was hoping would happen, but that hasn't happened yet. So, but they've been really, really great to work with from a business standpoint.
I'm pretty sure earlier when we talked about the PSA, it was about leave your guns at home, leave your drugs at home, have a great time, and slow down. And don't drink so much. Yeah, right. So.
Well, that's kind of the questions that we have related to business and stuff like that. What we like to do kind of at the end of the show is just kind of do a little bit of fast fire questions to see kind of your answers, kind of get to know who you are. And
Kevin usually comes up with some doozies here.
I caught it. So the last time a little off the matter about having hot chocolate.
I think my 26-year-old daughter loved the hot chocolate.
It was just out of the blue. So, all right. So if you could have any superpower, what would it be and why?
I heard this one on the last one, and
it's my favorite.
Your answers were very different. So I'm going to give you a superpower, and then I'm going to give you a perfect one. A superpower, I think, would be I'd love to fly. Right. I mean, I think everyone would love the ability to fly.
Yeah, definitely.
Not in an airplane, which certainly made my trip back here even easier.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have to be crunched in an airplane, on a cattle car, whatever you call it. But I think the coolest thing, if there was such a superpower, would be able to help heal people. To be able to touch to heal.
That's great.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
We've all seen people, family members, whatever, suffering. So you'd love to be able to do that. So a dream, I guess. But anyway, that would be
that's a great one. I already answered that one last time.
Yeah.
Give me a different one.
You did your whole Doctor Strange thing. And it was
teleportation.
I'm pretty sure I can know John's answer from his questions earlier, but what would you rather do? Relax on the beach or go to a concert?
Beach all day.
Beach all day.
Yeah.
So that's what I was kind of going with. I'm going to say you're a concert guy. Yeah.
Motley Crue.
Yeah.
And all the other bands we mentioned last time.
All the other
I had to
bands
look up. Yeah.
And the White Buffalo. Right.
White Buffalo. That was right. All right.
We've done the concerts over the years, and they're right now they're more and more of a pain to go to.
Yeah.
I always feel like I lose my hearing for such a long time after that. When we go to
you are getting older.
I'm getting older.
You're getting older.
The Bird's Nest, that's a fun one, though. That's probably coming back in January, so we'll promote that.
What's your next one?
What was the last movie you saw in the theater?
Oh, my gosh.
I don't even know.
I don't know either. I saw some weird movie last year and it was good, actually, with I think it was Liam Neeson. I can't remember. It was one of the few movies that actually came out in the theaters.
In like a year and a half.
I don't even know. I'm like really struggling to think of what movie I saw last.
Okay, if you had a choice of any food from any place, what would it be and why?
It would probably be Italian food and probably from Italy. Some great pasta.
Yeah, nice.
I mean, I was in Rome a couple years ago. My daughter was studying abroad, and we went and visited her. And that food, that pasta, it was different. It wasn't even full afterwards. And then we went to dessert, we went to gelato, and it was the same experience. I didn't feel full. It was they make it different there or something like that. Here, if I have a gelato or pasta, my stomach feels like it's ready to explode. So.
Stuffed for days.
Yeah.
My wife's enchiladas.
Oh. All right, can I re-answer that?
Yeah.
You're gonna make me look bad.
All right, and now my favorite question, which you guys may or may not know, but Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Trek, but with the new Star Trek with Chris Pine, Carl Urban. I think Zachary Quinto is I really like the new Star Trek series. The three of those movies with them. But wait a minute. I really like Star Wars too.
Politically correct. I'm a little bit of both. I like them both, but I like the original Star Trek, which was, there were reruns when I was a kid, but they were so great to watch. I never watched any of the newer ones afterwards because I never thought they would match up. So didn't like those. And then Star Wars, I remember the first three because when I was a kid, that's when Star Wars, Return of the Jedi, and Empire Strikes Back or whatever came out. Never watched any of the other ones since then. So
you're not missing much, and I'm a Star Wars geek, and it's the kind of the old canon side.
Yeah.
So
I will tell you, my 5-year-old grandson Tate is just absolutely obsessed with Star Wars and everything Star Wars. He already knows all the characters.
Love it.
It's great.
All right. Well, that about wraps up our show, our episode 2. Again, if you guys want to drop us any kind of media or
questions,
comments,
concerns, things you want to talk about, things you want me to talk about, and hey, While Kevin's mentioning it, if you have hard questions, send me hard questions. It's great. I get a lot of good hard questions internal to the organization. There are some really good ones here about violence and our response to violence. I really appreciate that level of depth to your questions. So feel free to send those to me, and we'll get to them since we do this now every month.
Yep. Follow us on Twitter at ScottsdalePD, on Facebook at ScottsdalePD, and Instagram at Scottsdale_police.
One other thing, if some of our listeners have ideas about future guests that you'd like to see on, we're willing to take those too. So just let us know. Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, John, very much for coming on and taking time out of your day, flying into to do this. And we'll see everybody next month. Take care.
Thanks.